So you find yourself wanting to build your own state, huh? No worries, we got you covered. This is state recognition. It's one of the requirements you need. No worries, it's not that complicated. It's not a chord progression or anything. It's quite simple, really. So it's basically a state where it recognizes other states and they acknowledge them, know that they exist. So here's a short example. Hey, I want to be independent like many other countries. Hey, no worries, fam. I got you. Here's my recognition. Go bet yourself a big one. Yeah, that example actually happens. Palestine is actually one of the countries that acknowledge Indonesians' independence. Anyways, back to the topic. Alright, I'm gonna go fast in this one. So there's also a requirement for this. Do you have people, territory, and government? You do? That's great. Can connect with other countries? You can? Awesome. Officially recognized by other countries and accepted in international organization. You do? Check then. Alright, congratulations. You are qualified. Yeah, sorry guys, I lied. Those are not the fully requirements. But that's what friends are for. My friend here will explain to you the things that I can't, so enjoy.
Hi, I'm the one that he was talking about. Now I'm going to explain a little bit further. Let's get into it. Okay, so now let's talk about the types of state recognition in international law. Basically, there are three main types. First one is de facto, the second one is de jure, and government recognition. First, de facto recognition means a country is recognized in fact, but not fully in law. It's like saying, okay, we admit you exist, but we're not ready to treat you as a legitimate state yet. For example, the early relationship between the United States and the Soviet Union. They had this contact, but no full recognition at first. Second, we have the jure recognition. This is a full legal and diplomatic recognition. Means that the new state is officially accepted as a sovereign country. A good example would be when the most countries recognize Israel in 1949. And finally, there is government recognition. This happens when there is a change of power. For example, after a coup, the question becomes, should the new government be recognized as legitimate or not? One of the latest examples is the Taliban government in Afghanistan, where many countries are still debating whether to officially recognize them or not. And now, let's move on to the theories behind state recognition. So actually there are two main theories, the declarative theory and the constitutive theory. According to the declarative theory, a state already exists if it meets the conditions of the Montevideo Convention of 1933, which include a permanent population, a defined territory, a government, and the ability to have relations with other states. So, even if no other countries recognize it, what can I say? It can still be considered a state under this theory. This idea is mostly followed in modern international law. On the other hand, the constitutive theory says the opposite. It argues that an entity only becomes a real state after it is recognized by other states. So this theory was more common in early European practice, when the recognition from great powers really mattered. Let's take an example. According to the declarative theory, Kosovo is already a state because it fulfills all the criteria. But according to the constitutive theory, it is not yet a state because big countries like Russia and China still refuse to recognize it. And the last material will be presented by my friend. The spot is yours. Thank you.
Alright, now let's look at some real-world cases to see how state recognition actually works in practice. So first, Kosovo. Kosovo declared independence from Serbia back in 2008. Right now, more than 100 countries, including the US and most of the EU, recognize it as an independent state, but Serbia, Russia, and China still don't. This case shows that recognition isn't just about law, it's also super political. If you use the declarative theory, Kosovo already qualifies as a state because it meets all the Montevideo criteria. But under the constitutive theory, it's not fully a state yet, simply because not all major countries recognize it. Next, we have Palestine, which is probably one of the most talked about examples. Over 130 countries recognize Palestine as a state, and it even holds a observer status at the United Nations. With some powerful countries like the US and several European nations still don't recognize it. This shows how recognitions can affect a country's global positions. Even though Palestine clearly has a government, population, and the territory itself, its still limited recognition keeps it from becoming a full UN member. And then there's Taiwan. It has everything: population, its own territory, a stable government, basically all the signs of a real state. But because of China's One China policy, most countries avoid recognizing it officially. Only around 12 countries still have formal diplomatic ties with Taiwan. This case proves how political interests often win over legal logic when it comes to recognizing state. So yeah, as we can see, state recognition isn't just about ticking off some legal checkboxes. It's shaped by global politics, alliance, and national interests. Now, why does recognition even matter this much in international relations? Let's break it down real quick. First, when a state gets recognized, it officially becomes a legal actor in the international system. It means they can make treaties, join organizations, and also have rights and duties under international law. Second, recognition also opens the door for formal relations, like setting up embassies, signing trade deals, or joining global cooperation projects. If a state isn't recognized, like Taiwan, it cannot officially sign treaties or be part of most global organizations. And last, membership in international organizations. And of course, recognition is key for joining big international groups like the UN, WHO, or IMF. For example, Palestine cannot become a full UN member because not all countries, especially the big ones on the Security Council, recognize it yet. To wrap it up, recognition isn't just a fancy diplomatic move, it's basically what decides whether a country really exists in the eyes of the world, legally, politically, and diplomatically. Thank you so much. See you next time.